Today was supposed to be my girlfriend Liu Ryan's sixth time meeting my parents. My parents and I waited at the restaurant for a full 4 hours. During that time, I called her countless times. But there was no answer. Just as I was about to make one last call, Liu Ryan's childhood friend, Song Jingning, posted something on his social media. The location was a hotel in the suburbs, with the caption, "We'll go from 18 to 80 together." The photo showed the bare back of a woman with a vivid red spider lily tattoo on her exposed shoulder. A mutual friend even chimed in, "First love couples are always the best to ship." I quietly liked the post and commented, "Remember to be buried together after you die, so you won't harm anyone in the next life." Just as the food was served, Liu Ryan finally called. I didn't hesitate to hang up. But the next moment, she sent a message. "Don't be jealous for no reason, okay? I grew up with him." What's wrong with the idea of growing old together until 80? It's only people with dirty minds like yours who see dirt everywhere. Besides, she added, "Something happened with Ningning over here, so I came to help him sort it out. It suddenly started pouring rain, and his health isn't great. I was worried something might happen to him, so I booked a room for us to wait out the storm." More messages followed, all avoiding the fact that she had promised to meet my parents today. I stopped reading her texts, feeling only a deep sense of guilt toward my parents. I looked up at them, and my heart filled with remorse. They're getting older now, and they took a special flight just to meet my girlfriend. But now, here they were, waiting in vain. But Liu Ryan didn't show up, not even once. My parents were already upset because of her repeated no-shows, but because they knew I liked her, they kept their frustration to themselves, tolerating it again and again. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I've made you come all this way for nothing." My mother looked at me with sympathy, while my father just said calmly, "These are your decisions to make. I won't interfere in your relationships. We'll just consider this a trip to visit you." His words hit me hard, and I could feel my eyes sting with tears. In the 5 years I've been with Liu Ryan, she's never once accompanied me to visit my parents. As a well-known lawyer, she always claimed that her time was too precious, charged by the minute. But if Song Jingning called, she'd willingly cross half the city to see him, even finding time to travel with him. Love or indifference, it was painfully obvious. I'd just been lying to myself all along. Sometimes letting go only takes a single moment of clarity. After dropping my parents off at their hotel, I returned home around 11. Liu Ryan was sitting on the couch, her face dark with anger. The moment I walked in, she started accusing me. "Coming back this late? Where have you been fooling around? You didn't answer my calls or reply to my messages." I patiently listened to her twisted accusations, then interrupted. "Do you even remember what today was?" "What do you mean? It was just another workday, wasn't it?" She started to say more, but suddenly stopped mid-sentence. "Sorry. Did your parents go back already?" "Tomorrow, I won't forget, I promise," I replied calmly. "There's no need." And with that, I headed straight to the bedroom. After showering, I turned off the lights. As I pulled the blanket over myself, ready to sleep, Liu Ryan walked in. She had already showered, wearing a black slip nightgown, just like always. She lay down beside me. "Are you still mad at me?" I lay there with my back to her, not saying a word. Liu Ryan wrapped her arm around my waist, leaning close to my ear and softly whispering, "Darling, I'm sorry. This time it's my fault. Ning got into a car accident, and he called me. I was just so worried that I forgot. Seeing that I still wasn't responding, she forcefully turned me to face her. In the dim moonlight, I saw the red spider lily on her shoulder, and immediately thought of Song Jingning's social media post. A wave of nausea hit me. So, did Song Jingning not satisfy you? Liu Ryan sat up abruptly, her face full of anger. Gu Qingxi, are you really going to keep this up? I've already explained everything to you. I even apologized. What more do you want? I was even planning to take tomorrow off, so I could spend time with your parents. Her tone, full of condescension, grated on me. I looked at her calmly and said, Liu Ryan, don't force yourself. Let's break up. With that, I grabbed my pillow and left the bedroom, heading to the guest room to sleep. Liu Ryan sat there in shock for a few seconds, before slamming the door behind me, making her anger clear. The next day, just as I was about to request time off to take my parents out, my mom's message came in. Your dad and I are heading back now. You should focus on work. Come home more often when you can. I froze for a moment, quickly calling her back. Mom. Why are you heading back so soon? My mom's gentle voice came through the phone. Your dad's in a hurry to get back and go fishing with your uncle. Alright, that's enough now. We're about to board. Take care. As I heard the click of the line disconnecting, I was overwhelmed with guilt toward my parents. The city I worked in wasn't far from home, just a little over an hour by plane. But for the past few years, I'd been too focused on Liu Ryan, rarely going back to visit them. Suddenly, an idea flashed in my mind. I got up immediately and went to my company to see my manager. Manager Song, I want to transfer to the Guangzhou branch. Manager Song looked surprised at my sudden request. Why so proactive today? I've been suggesting it to you for a while now, but you kept turning it down. If you go, the project manager position is all yours. I scratched my head. Manager Song, I've come to realize something. Nothing is more important than focusing on my career. Manager Song smiled with satisfaction, pulled a form from his drawer, and handed it to me to sign. As I walked out of his office, my phone rang. Liu Ryan was calling. I picked up and was immediately greeted by her angry voice. Gu Qingxi, why didn't you wake me up? And why didn't you make me breakfast? I have an important client to meet today. Listening to her self-righteous accusations, I let out a bitter laugh. Ryan, I'm not your servant. I'm not obligated to do any of that for you. You've really grown a pair, haven't you? Before she could continue, I hung up the phone. For the past 5 years, I had spoiled Liu Ryan like a princess. Every single day, I took care of all 3 meals, handled all the household chores, even made sure her clothes were ready when she got out of the shore. But over the years, my efforts became something she took for granted. The moment I stopped, it was somehow my fault. Thinking about this, I felt incredibly relieved that I woke up from this sooner rather than later. Since deciding to move on from Liu Ryan, my work efficiency skyrocketed. Tasks that used to take me all day, I could now finish in half the time. After work, as I stepped out of the office, I realized it was raining outside. Just then, Liu Ryan called me. You're off work, right? I didn't drive today. Come home, grab the car, and pick up me and Ningning. Hearing her entitled tone and the mention of Song Jingning, I couldn't help but wonder just how low they thought of me. Did they really think I'd go home in the rain, then come back out to drive them home? No way! Not happening, I said, and hung up the phone. I hailed a cab and went home. Once I got back, I ordered myself a long overdue meal of spicy hot pot. I love spicy hot pot, but Liu Ryan always said it was dirty and beneath her standards. She wouldn't eat it, and forbade me from eating it too. But that day, on Song Jingning's social media, I saw her wearing a black suit, sitting on the street with Song Jingning, enjoying the same spicy hot pot she despised. Turns out her preferences depended on the person. I was just never the exception. As I ate my hot pot and drank a beer, Liu Ryan came home with Song Jingning. When she saw me lounging so comfortably and relaxed, in sharp contrast to my relaxed demeanor, Liu Ryan and Song Jingning stood there, soaked and disheveled. Liu Ryan was livid. Gu Qingxi? This is what you meant by no time? Is it such a big deal that I didn't meet your parents? It's not like they'll never have time again. Why are you making such a fuss about it? I didn't want to argue with her at first, but the more she spoke, the more outrageous her words became. I couldn't hold back my anger anymore, so I stood up abruptly and smashed the beer bottle in my hand against the floor. Enough! Liu Ryan, don't push it! Shards of glass flew and nicked Song Jingning, which only made Liu Ryan even more furious. She shoved me hard, sending me crashing to the ground. I hissed in pain, blood immediately covering my palm. I couldn't even tell how many cuts were there. Seeing me injured, Liu Ryan panicked and knelt down to inspect my wounds. As she came closer, I caught a strong whiff of a familiar scent, the cologne that Song Jingning often wore. I could practically imagine her hands gliding over his body, her face filled with tenderness. Disgusted, I shoved her away. My eyes landed on a red mark on her neck. Liu Ryan noticed my gaze, quickly covering it with her hand. The office has a lot of mosquitoes lately. You know how sensitive my skin is. Song Jingming smirked, backing her up. Ryan G's skin is so soft and delicate. In this twisted relationship, Song Jingming got the real love from Liu Ryan, while all I got was one betrayal after another. Enough, I muttered. Stop fussing over these little things, she said, staring at my injured hand with feigned concern. I'll take you to the hospital. Her face showed worrying, but her actions were anything but gentle. She grabbed my injured hand, roughly yanking me up from the floor, pretending to be the caring girlfriend, insisting on taking me to the hospital. I pulled my hand away from her, calmly saying, "No need. If you keep dragging me like this, I'll be dead before I even get to the hospital." Only then did Liu Ryan realize she had been pulling on my injured hand, but she still stubbornly snapped, "Can't you talk like a normal person? Why do you always have to be so sarcastic?" I was too tired to argue with her anymore, so I started putting on my shoes to go to the hospital by myself. But Liu Ryan wasn't ready to let it go, insisting on taking me. As she dragged me toward the car, Song Jingming was quick to jump into the front passenger seat, smirking at me with a look of triumph. "I get car sick. I need to sit in the front. You don't mind, do you, Qingxi?" I didn't bother replying, just opened the back door and got in. On the way to the hospital, I glanced around the car. There were a few new things that caught my attention. Things that didn't belong. Like a photo stuck on the dashboard. A pair of basketball shoes in the back. And a men's jacket. I remembered when I first left a little plush toy in her car. Liu Ryan threw it in the trash the very next day, claiming she had a cleanliness obsession and wouldn't allow anyone else's things in her car. Turns out even her cleanliness had double standards. When we arrived at the hospital, after the doctor finished treating and bandaging my wounds, it was already 2 a.m. I wandered around the hospital's waiting area, but there was no sign of Liu Ryan. I didn't bother calling her. Instead, I stood outside the hospital and tried hailing a cab, but it was the middle of the night and it was raining. So after an hour of waiting, I still couldn't get one. Reluctantly, I called Liu Ryan. Song Jingming answered the phone. He said a quick hello. Before I heard Liu Ryan take the phone from him, then Song Jingming's voice again. I'm going to take a shower. Hurry up. Liu Ryan seemed to move away from him. What's up? She asked. I didn't waste any time. Getting straight to the point. I'm at the hospital entrance. I can't get a cab. Can you come pick me up? There was a brief pause, as if she had just remembered she had dropped me off at the hospital. Wait for me. I'll be there in 5 minutes. But 5 minutes passed. Then 10. 20. She still hadn't arrived. I let out a bitter laugh. Already knowing I shouldn't have trusted her, I tried hailing a cab again. And maybe out of some small mercy from the heavens, this time I managed to get one quickly. When I got home, I had barely sat down before Liu Ryan walked in behind me. The moment she entered, she started questioning me. Why didn't you wait for me? I'm hungry. Make me something to eat. And make some seafood porridge. Want some? I'll take it to him in a bit. Hey, are you deaf? After a sleepless night, standing in the rain, I was dizzy and completely out of patience. You've got to be kidding me. We broke up. Who do you think you're ordering around? Liu Ryan looked at me in disbelief. What did you just say? You want to break up with me? Yes. I told you yesterday. Or are you deaf now? Liu Ryan looked like she had just heard the most ridiculous joke. She actually laughed until tears formed in her eyes. Gu Qingxi, I must have misheard, right? You want to break up with me? How long will it take you this time? How many hours until you come crawling back, begging? I hope you can stick it out this time. At least make it 24 hours. I looked at Liu Ryan calmly. I couldn't really blame her for reacting this way. Because of Song Jingming, I had tried to break up with Liu Ryan a few times before, but after just a few hours, I would always cave. Pathetically apologizing and begging her to take me back, Liu Ryan didn't pay me any more attention. She just walked straight into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I took out my phone and started looking for short-term rentals near the company. Before I left work today, Manager Song informed me that my transfer order would come through tomorrow, but the official relocation would depend on when the branch confirmed it, which could take about a month. I thought I'd be able to leave quickly, but it turns out I'd have to wait a while longer. As I searched for rental listings, I also started thinking about what to pack. Since moving in with Liu Ryan, I treated this place like home. Bought a lot of things to make it feel that way. There were a lot of things I couldn't take with me. After thinking it through, I decided I'd just take my personal belongings. After all, I wouldn't be living in this city anymore. Those other things wouldn't serve much purpose. I made an appointment with a real estate agent to view some properties in the afternoon and went to rest in the guest room. When I woke up and stepped out of the guest room, Liu Ryan was staring at me with an expression of utter disbelief. I didn't ask why. I glanced at the time and headed to the bathroom to freshen up. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a cup smashing onto the floor. Startled, I turned to see the shattered pieces scattered across the ground. I let out a resigned laugh. That cup was the first ceramic piece I ever made, back when I became obsessed with pottery. I gave it to Liu Ryan as a gift, and she laughed at it for so long, calling it ugly. She said it was one of a kind in the worst possible way. At the time, I told her earnestly, like my love for you. Unique and irreplaceable. Now, with the cup shattered, it seemed like the perfect symbol for the end of our relationship. I didn't bother cleaning up the broken pieces. After finishing my morning routine, I put on my shoes and walked out the door. Liu Ryan sat in the living room, staring after me as I left. But I didn't look back. That afternoon, I viewed a few apartments and quickly settled on one. A furnished one-bedroom, the best part being it was only a 5-minute walk to work. The previous apartment was chosen for Liu Ryan's convenience. I'd always spent at least half an hour commuting, even on a good day. Back then, I was only focused on giving, never imagining it would lead to this outcome. I quickly paid the rent and deposit, excited at the thought of moving in tonight. Freedom and comfort were already calling my name. When I returned to the apartment, Liu Ryan wasn't home. I packed up all my personal belongings into a large suitcase and left. By the time I had settled into my new place, it was already nightfall. Even though I was exhausted, but my mood was light and carefree. However, that feeling didn't last long. Liu Ryan's call came through. I glanced at the time, already guessing why she was calling. It was probably to ask me to make her some hangover tea and prepare her bath water. But this time, she wouldn't get that treatment. When I answered the phone, her surprised voice came through the line. Gu Qingxi, you moved out? I was a little surprised, wondering why she was home so early. Didn't you have fun tonight? When I didn't answer right away, she called my name again, this time with a faint trace of panic in her voice. Or maybe I imagined it. We broke up. Living together wouldn't be right anymore. I didn't agree to break up. Move back right now. Where are you? I'll come pick you up. There's no need for that. Liu Ryan, I'm serious this time, I said calmly. Liu Ryan's frustration was palpable as she snapped. Fine. Gu Qingxi, don't come crying to me later. And with that, she hung up. Regret? The only regret I have is not breaking up sooner. Now, I can eat durian if I feel like it. I can enjoy stinky tofu whenever I want, without worrying about anyone else's preferences. And I no longer have to prepare 3 meals a day, leaving me with extra time I can use to better myself. Because I've realized I've fallen behind compared to my coworkers. Being with Liu Ryan, I wasted a lot of time. Now I have to work hard to catch up. So I immediately signed up for an online course. The first week after leaving Liu Ryan, I lived freely and fulfilled. Just when I thought we were done, I received a call from one of Liu Ryan's friends. Ryan was drunk She's yelling for you to pick her up and take her home. I froze for a moment. You must have dialed the wrong number. You should be calling Song Jingning. If you don't have his number, I can send it to you. Her friend was so shocked by my response that she couldn't speak for a long time. After a while, she began to reason with me. You two have been together for so long. Don't be so petty. Otherwise, you'll regret it in the future. I yawned and interrupted her. Is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. As soon as I said this, I heard Liu Ryan's voice cursing from the background. Suddenly, I remembered when Song Jingning had just returned from abroad. Liu Ryan would hang out with that group of friends every day, drinking and partying until the middle of the night. At that time, I couldn't sleep every day, worried something would happen to her because of the drinking. One day, I called her and asked if she needed a ride. Liu Ryan scoffed and said, "Why would you come? To embarrass me? You can't even drink. And you're no fun to be around." After that day, I never mentioned picking her up again. Thinking about it now, it all seems so pointless. So without hesitation, I hung up the phone, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. The next morning, when I woke up, there were over a dozen missed calls and unread messages on my phone. All from Liu Ryan. Gu Qing Shai. You move back tomorrow. I can still pretend nothing happened. Who do you think you are? I gave you the chance to pick me up, and you refused. Where did you learn this new trick of playing hard to get? You can't even compare to Ningning's little finger. If it weren't for you competing with Ningning for the study abroad spot, I would never have been with you. When I saw that message, I was stunned. The question that had long troubled me was finally answered. Back in senior year, Liu Ryan suddenly added me on WeChat and asked if I wanted to be together. Though I couldn't quite understand why, I still said yes without hesitation. At that time, almost everyone at school knew I liked her. From the love at first sight in sophomore year to finally being together in senior year, many classmates were cheering, saying they believed in love again. After getting together with Liu Ryan, she told me she didn't like long-distance relationships. With love clouding my judgment, I decisively gave up the chance to study abroad. It even made my professor furious. I confidently told the professor back then I was chasing after happiness. Liu Ryan always treated me coldly and indifferently. Back then, I thought, this girl is so cool. Little did I know how much suffering I would endure because of this so-called coolness. After graduation, I gave up the job opportunity back in my hometown for Liu Ryan. I stayed here, thinking we'd be the perfect example of a couple growing from school uniforms to wedding gowns. But I was completely wrong. Later, I asked her more than once, why did she suddenly decide to be with me? Every time she answered, she said it was because I was dumb. I thought it was a compliment. Turns out it was because I really was dumb. I don't regret everything I gave up for Liu Ryan, because I once loved with all my heart. Thinking of this, I smiled bitterly and shook my head. For Song Jingning, Liu Ryan would truly give up everything, including herself. At that moment, my phone suddenly rang. It was Liu Ryan. I hesitated for a second, but still answered. A weak voice came from the other side of the line. Qing Shai, Gu Qing Shai. My stomach hurts. Come back. My stomach hurts. Come and rub it for me. I also want sweet porridge. When you're not here, no one makes me hangover soup. No one helps me. Annoyed, I interrupted her. Liu Ryan, I'm not your babysitter. If your stomach hurts, go see a doctor. If you want hangover soup, cook it yourself. I'm not foolish enough to know the truth and still give you the chance to hurt me. Let's end it here. Don't contact me anymore. After saying that, I hung up the phone, got up, washed up, and went to work. I was almost late. If I'd been late, I would have lost my perfect attendance bonus. As expected, nothing good comes from being involved with Liu Ryan. Luckily, I woke up early from this. Since I was preparing for a transfer to a bigger branch, I spent the entire morning writing handover documents. It wasn't until lunch break that I had time to check my phone. After I hung up the call, Liu Ryan sent me many more messages. I hadn't had a chance to read them yet when a new message came in. It was a picture of her lunch, followed by a sentence. The rice is too hard. It's not as good as yours. I didn't reply. I swiped up on my phone again and saw the words, I'm sorry. I was a bit surprised. Liu Ryan is a very proud person. She rarely ever thinks she's wrong about anything. Even when she is wrong, she would shift the blame onto me. So after being manipulated by her so many times, for a while, I lost myself. I thought I couldn't do anything right. I was just grateful that Liu Ryan didn't despise me. It was my mom who eventually noticed something was off. She flew over from my hometown, gave me a gentle, heartfelt talk, and only then did I break free from the vicious cycle. Liu Ryan was like quicksand. I struggled so hard to climb out. How could I fall into the same pit twice? After work, I was surprised to see Liu Ryan at the company entrance. I hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to pretend I didn't see her. I walked around her to go buy groceries for the day. Liu Ryan called my name and ran after me. Xing Shai, I've come to take you home. Noticing the stares from my colleagues around me, I had no choice but to stop. Liu Ryan, what do you want? We've already broken up. She looked hurt. Xing Shai, I don't agree with the breakup. Come back with me. I looked at her, confused, and asked, I'm no longer a threat to Song Jingning. What are you doing? What do I have left for you two to take advantage of? Liu Ryan's face instantly turned pale. It's not like that. Everything I said yesterday was nonsense because I was drunk. Although at first I was with you because of Ningning. But after spending time together, I realized I had fallen in love with you. Really? Xing Shai, I can't. Before she could finish, Song Jingning's special ringtone sounded. She hesitated for a few seconds, but in the end, she answered the call. The moment Liu Ryan picked up the phone, I immediately turned and walked away. No matter the time or the place, Song Jingning was always Liu Ryan's priority. I should have understood this a long time ago. In the days that followed, Liu Ryan didn't appear before me again. After finishing the handover at work, I decided to take a vacation and go on a trip. After thinking for a while, I chose the place where I had once planned to go with Liu Ryan for our graduation trip, Beijing. Back then, I had made extensive travel plans, booked the flight and hotel, but the night before we were supposed to leave, Liu Ryan said something had happened to a friend, and she had to fly abroad at the last minute, so the plan had been postponed until now. After finding a place to stay in Beijing, I visited many places. On the first day, I woke up early to watch the flag-raising ceremony. I even tried drinking Dowsy fermented mung bean drink. I have to say, it was truly undrinkable. I also saw the snow-covered Forbidden City, the Great Wall in winter, the historical ruins of Yuanmingyuan, the sunset at Shikahai. On the last day of the trip, I organized all the photos, posted them on my social media, saying a final farewell to my youth. After returning to Shanghai, I began packing my things to move out. Just then, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I found out it was Liu Ryan. She looked much more haggard than before. Her makeup and hair were no longer as polished. She didn't even have lipstick on. I looked at her in confusion. "Is there something you need?" Liu Ryan stubbornly said. "Xing Shai, I've come to take you home." I rolled my eyes at her. "If there's nothing else, you should go." Saying that, I moved to close the door, but Liu Ryan pressed her hand against the door frame, stopping me from closing it. Annoyed, I kicked the door. "What exactly do you want?" "Xing Shai, I know I was wrong. Give me another chance. I love you. I'll make it up to you. If you don't like Song Jingning, I can distance myself from him. Is that okay?" Liu Ryan looked at me pitifully, her eyes filled with pleading. I let out a cold laugh. "Liu Ryan, don't you think your behavior right now is contradictory? You love me, yet you've hurt me so freely for years? If you don't leave now, I'm calling security." But Liu Ryan still wouldn't leave. She stared at me, refusing to believe I could be this heartless. "Liu Ryan, we're already over. Is this kind of pestering fun for you?" I no longer cared about her hand. I shut the door directly. At the very last second before the door closed, Liu Ryan quickly withdrew her hand. I sat on the couch, thinking about Liu Ryan's strange behavior these last times. Why is she so obsessed with bringing me back, claiming she's suddenly realized I'm the one she truly loves? I wouldn't believe that in a million years. I sighed, deciding not to think about it anymore. After all, it's impossible. Just then, my childhood friend texted me. He said he'd already arrived. I quickly threw on my clothes and headed out. The day after I returned from Beijing, my childhood friend Wang Chen called, asking what my social media post meant. I told him everything that had happened. He immediately said he'd come to Shanghai to grab dinner and drinks with me. I didn't expect him to show up today. We picked a trendy hot pot restaurant together. After a few drinks, I went to the restroom. On my way back, I overheard a familiar voice. If Ningning hadn't taken an interest in that software he designed, why would I ever beg Guqing Shai? Sister Ryan, I know it's hard on you, but with that software, I'll finally get into Sheng Yue. I've already arranged to meet him this Saturday. The rest of the conversation became too faint to hear. The software they mentioned is the one I started developing in my second year after graduation. I had just recently completed it. Saturday, huh? I'll have to see what tricks they're trying to pull. Saturday morning, Liu Ryan was already waiting at my door early as ever. She said that even if there was no hope for us, she wanted me to spend one last day with her. I looked at her coldly, seeing through her fake sincerity. A wave of disgust rose in my chest. But for my plan to go smoothly, after an hour of her desperate pleading, I finally agreed. The moment I said yes, I didn't miss the brief flash of triumph in Liu Ryan's eyes. We hadn't been out long when I got a message on my phone. I glanced at it and smirked slightly. The fish had taken the bait. That day, Liu Ryan took me to the places we used to frequent when we first got together. I kept watching her, thinking that if she showed even a sliver of guilt, I would let her go. But she didn't. In the afternoon, Liu Ryan received a message on her phone. Without even looking at it, she stood up and said, "Xing Shai. Thank you for spending the day with me. The law firm needs me for something. I'll head back first." Before I could respond, she hurried off without waiting for an answer. I didn't need to guess it was a message from Song Jingming, telling her the deal was done. I leisurely finished my coffee before heading home. Now it was just a matter of waiting to reel them in. 2 days later, an industry-wide announcement was made about a new software, and the designer, Song Jingming, was hailed as a genius. With that title, Song Jingming quickly secured a position as the development manager at Chung Yue. I watched his interview video on social media and let out a cold laugh. Song Jingming, laugh while you can. The real show is about to begin. I didn't warn him about the plagiarized software. Instead, I filed a lawsuit directly and created a personal account to release the legal notice. Since it was a new account, not many people followed it. Seeing that my legal notice didn't gain much attention, I paid for traffic boosts. Soon enough, the genius designer's sudden rise was engulfed in a scandal of software theft. The online discussions erupted. Some people didn't believe what I said and questioned me, but I remained unfazed. The hidden developer signature inside the software was finally brought to light. I exposed the secret. Then I released the screen recording of Song Jingming operating on my computer that day. Because I've been active in various software development forums, many designers in the industry know my alias. Because of this incident, Song Jingming became known as a thief among everyone. She was so scared that she didn't dare to leave her house. While I was at home, opening a bottle of beer to celebrate this event, Liu Ryan called me. She said, "King Shi, I beg you, please, can you release a statement saying it's been resolved privately? He's hiding at home and doesn't dare to step outside. If this goes on, something bad is bound to happen." I sneered and replied, "Rats from the gutter can't come out into the light. When you all conspired to steal from me, did you not think of this outcome?" Liu Ryan was silent for a few seconds after I said this. "You knew about this all along? Then why did you cooperate with me? And now you refuse to let go. What good will it do you if something happens? When you all decided to steal my software, did you ever think about how it would affect me? Stealing your software was my fault. What do you want as compensation? Whatever you ask for, I will agree to it." As she finished saying this, I let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, I had the foresight to press the record button when she called. Everything she said was recorded. I didn't say much more to her. I simply hung up the phone. Liu Ryan realized that I wouldn't let Song Jingming off the hook. So she started buying traffic and online trolls to control the narrative. She desperately tried to clear his name. But a thief is still a thief. No matter how hard they try to whitewash it, the fact remains. The truth cannot be changed. As netizens dug deeper, Song Jingming's social media platforms were exposed. He had previously shared a lot about Liu Ryan, including many intimate photos they took at hotels and at home. Some of the earliest photos dated back to when Song Jingming studied abroad. He had quite a few fans, many of whom shipped them as a couple. Now, because of this incident, the tone of the comments underneath completely shifted. As things spiraled further out of control, Liu Ryan turned her attacks on me, claiming I was the third party who interfered in their relationship. At this point, I decided to fight back head-on, organizing the entire timeline of our relationship, including the drunken messages she sent me and the last phone call she made to me. I released everything. Oh, the chaos that ensued. Not only was Song Jingming's reputation shattered, but even Liu Ryan was dragged down with him. She was labeled a scumbag woman. Her work as a lawyer was halted, and even the cases she had previously represented were scrutinized under a magnifying glass. During this investigation, something serious came to light. On the day of my 6th meeting with Liu Ryan's parents, someone pushed Song Jingming down the stairs. The lawyer representing the case was none other than Liu Ryan. Since there were no surveillance cameras near the crime scene, there was no substantial evidence. Relying on her years of legal experience, she actually sued the victim for compensation of 150,000 yuan. But during this incident, someone released a video accidentally captured by a passerby near the crime scene. It clearly showed the two of them having an argument. Song Jingming tried to push the victim, but failed, and ended up slipping and falling himself. Liu Ryan got caught in a whirlwind of online abuse, and her law license was revoked. After this battle was over, I packed up and moved to Guangzhou for work, returning to the embrace of my family. At the same time, I blocked all contact with Liu Ryan. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. "Qingxi, where have you gone? I went to your place to find you, but the landlord said you had moved out. Qingxi, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was deceived by Song Jingming, which is why I did what I did." Lu Xiu's voice was filled with regret and remorse. "You've dialed the wrong number." After saying that, I hung up the phone immediately. I then set my phone to block all unknown numbers, refusing to give Liu Ryan any chance to discuss me again. Since I transferred to the branch office, I've often worked late into the night. One day after work, it was already past midnight. I was walking home alone, when suddenly a car came speeding towards me, accelerating as if to hit me. At the brink of life and death, I froze in terror, unable to move. Suddenly, someone pulled me back from behind, and the car, without slowing down, quickly vanished into the darkness. The person who saved me acted as a witness, accompanying me to the police station to file a report, and gave a statement. After my parents found out, they started driving me to and from work every day. Less than a week later, the driver of the car was caught. It was Song Jingming. He hated me for ruining his future, turning him into a public disgrace. He was even facing charges for stealing someone else's work and for extortion. As for Liu Ryan, who had seemingly lost her mind, she kept looking for me every day, claiming that she loved me, completely disregarding Song Jingming. After losing everything, Song Jingming was mentally unbalanced. He wanted to drag me to death with him. Upon hearing this, I couldn't help but sigh. It was greed that destroyed them. But their problems no longer had anything to do with me. 6 months later, my mother tricked me into going on a blind date. When I arrived, I realized it was the girl who had saved me that day. Lukiki. It turned out she was the daughter of my mom's friend and a taekwondo coach. Lukiki was a very cheerful girl. Being with her felt comfortable. On our second meeting, she asked me, Gu Kingshi, can I be your girlfriend? I fled in panic, but she began to pursue me relentlessly. A year later, Lukiki officially visited my parents as my girlfriend. Standing outside my house, she asked for the 10th time, did I forget any gifts or fruits? She was dressed rather casually. I smiled and said, just because you saved my life before, even if you didn't bring anything to my parents, they would still like you. Who knew she would respond so seriously? Gu Kingshi? That's a different matter. Meeting the parents should not be taken lightly. Hearing this, I smiled with satisfaction. My happiness had finally arrived.